Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cool metal surface of the observation deck's viewport, watching the alien vessel drift silently through the void. For 3 months, the ship had remained motionless, refusing all attempts at communication. The Galactic Council had grown impatient, their representatives demanding answers that humanity simply didn't have. "Still nothing from the translation matrices?" Captain Rodriguez asked, stepping beside her. His weathered face reflected the exhaustion they all felt after weeks of failed diplomatic attempts. Elena shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. "The AI systems can't even identify the base linguistic structure. It's unlike anything in our databases, and the Council's archives came up empty too." She gestured toward the sleek crystalline ship that seemed to shimmer with its own internal light. Whatever civilization built that vessel, they're completely unknown to galactic society. The human research vessel Endeavour had been humanity's first major contribution to the Galactic Council's exploration fleet. As the newest species to achieve faster-than-light travel, humans were eager to prove their worth among the established alien civilizations. The discovery of this mysterious ship was supposed to be their chance to shine. "The Zephyrians are getting restless," Rodriguez continued, referencing the tall, blue-skinned aliens who served as the mission's official observers. "Ambassador Kethvar mentioned something about containment protocols if we can't establish peaceful contact soon." Elena's stomach tightened. She knew what containment protocols meant in galactic law. The mysterious ship would be destroyed, its secrets lost forever. The thought of such wanton destruction of potentially invaluable knowledge made her feel sick. "There has to be something we're missing," she muttered, pulling up her tablet to review the data streams for the 100th time. "The ship's energy signatures are stable. Life support appears active, but there's no response to any frequency we've tried." The bridge doors hissed open, and Dr. James Chen, the team's xenopsychologist, hurried in with excitement written across his face. "Elena, I think I've found something. You need to see this." They followed him to the analysis lab where holographic displays showed complex waveform patterns. "I've been analyzing the ship's passive emissions, not looking for communication but for behavioral patterns," James explained, his hands dancing across the controls. "Look at this." The display shifted to show a rhythmic pulse emanating from the alien vessel. It was subtle, almost hidden within the background radiation, but undeniably artificial. "It's not random," Elena breathed, leaning closer. "There's a mathematical progression here." "Exactly. And watch what happens when I overlay our communication attempts." James manipulated the display, showing their own transmission patterns in a different color. Where the human signals intersected with the alien pulses, there were tiny fluctuations. "It's responding," Rodriguez said in amazement, "but so subtly we almost missed it." Elena's mind raced. "It's not ignoring us. It's being careful. Maybe even afraid?" "That's what I'm thinking," James nodded. "The response patterns suggest extreme caution. This ship might have encountered hostile first contact situations before." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. Here was a species so traumatized by previous encounters that they barely dared to acknowledge the presence of other beings. The very fact that they were responding at all, even minutely, suggested a desperate desire for connection tempered by overwhelming fear. "We need to change our approach entirely," she said, already formulating a plan. "Instead of broadcasting standard diplomatic protocols, we need to show them we're safe, non-threatening." "How do you communicate safe to a species that doesn't trust anyone?" Rodriguez asked. Elena stared at the pulsing patterns on the screen, an idea forming. "Music, mathematics, universal concepts that transcend language." She turned to James. "Can you isolate their pulse pattern and create a harmonic response?" "I can try, but Elena, if we're wrong about this, then we lose our chance anyway when the Council implements containment protocols," she interrupted. "At least this way we're trying to understand rather than destroy." Over the next several hours, Elena and James worked to create a musical response that incorporated the alien ship's own rhythmic patterns. They started simple, echoing the pulses back with slight variations that suggested awareness and peaceful intent. The translation computers remained useless, but the mathematical relationship spoke a universal language. The breakthrough came during the late shift when Elena was alone in the lab. She had been playing their harmonic response on loop when something changed. The alien ship's emissions suddenly became more complex, more nuanced. The simple pulse evolved into something that could only be described as a melody, Elena's hands trembled as she recorded the transmission. This wasn't just acknowledgement anymore. This was art. This was a soul reaching out across the vast darkness of space, sharing something beautiful and uniquely its own. "Captain Rodriguez to the lab immediately," she called over the comm, her voice thick with emotion. When the captain arrived with James close behind, Elena played the recording. The haunting melody filled the room, its alien harmonies touching something deep within them. It spoke of loneliness, of hope, of the desperate need for connection that seemed universal among thinking beings. "My God," Rodriguez whispered. "They're trying to tell us something." "Not tell," Elena corrected, tears streaming down her face. "They're trying to trust us. This is the most vulnerable thing a species can do, share their art with strangers." James was already working at his console. "I'm detecting movement in the ship. Very slight, but the energy patterns are shifting." On the main display, they watched as sections of the crystalline vessel began to glow more brightly. What they had initially taken for surface features were actually becoming translucent, revealing glimpses of the interior structure. "It's opening up," Rodriguez breathed, literally and figuratively. Elena realized they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. A species so damaged by past encounters that they had withdrawn completely was choosing to trust again. The weight of that responsibility settled on her shoulders like a lead blanket. "Record everything," she ordered, "and send a priority message to the council. Tell them we've made contact, but this is delicate. Any aggressive action could undo everything." As if in response to her words, the alien ship's melody changed, becoming more complex, more urgent. Elena had the distinct impression that whoever was inside that vessel was trying to warn them about something important enough to overcome their terror of contact, something that would change everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. The alien melody continued for 6 hours straight, growing more complex and urgent with each passing moment. Elena had assembled her entire linguistics team, but none of their standard protocols seemed adequate for what they were experiencing. This wasn't communication in any traditional sense, it was something far more profound. "The mathematical structures are incredible," Dr. Sarah Kim announced from her workstation. "The harmonics follow principles we've only theorized about in quantum acoustics. Whoever created this understands dimensional mathematics at a level that surpasses anything in the galactic databases." Elena nodded absently. Her attention focused on the visual changes occurring in the alien vessel. More sections were becoming transparent, revealing an interior architecture that defied conventional understanding. The ship seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its internal spaces folding in ways that should have been impossible. "Captain," came a voice from the bridge. "Ambassador Kethvar is demanding an immediate report." "The Zephyrian fleet is taking defensive positions." Rodriguez's jaw tightened. "Tell the ambassador that any hostile action will jeopardize first contact. We're dealing with a species that's clearly more advanced than anything the Council has encountered." Elena's tablet chimed with an incoming analysis from the ship's AI. What she read made her blood run cold. "James, look at this. The energy signatures we're detecting from their ship. The computational power alone suggests processing capabilities that exceed our entire research fleet combined." "Elena," Dr. Kim called out urgently. "The transmission is changing again. It's becoming more structured, like they're trying to create a framework for actual communication." The melody had indeed evolved into something more systematic. Mathematical progressions flowed seamlessly into harmonic sequences that seemed to carry semantic weight. Elena realized they were witnessing the birth of a new language, created in real time by an intelligence capable of incredible conceptual leaps. "They're building a bridge," she whispered in amazement. "They're constructing a communication protocol based on our initial harmonic exchange." The process was breathtaking to observe. The alien intelligence took their simple musical responses and expanded them into a complex system of meaning. Prime numbers became grammatical structures. Harmonic intervals suggested emotional contexts. It was as if they were watching a master linguist compose a symphony that was simultaneously a dictionary, a grammar text, and a philosophical treatise. "Captain," Dr. Kim said, her voice tense with concentration, "I think they're trying to send us specific information. The patterns are becoming more directional, more intentional." Elena studied the emerging communication framework, her mind racing to understand the concepts being presented. Gradually, patterns began to emerge from the complexity. The aliens were sharing mathematical principles that seemed to describe space-time manipulation, energy conversion processes that violated known physics, and most disturbing of all, what appeared to be historical records. My God, Elena breathed as the implications became clear. They're not just trying to communicate. They're trying to warn us. The historical data, when filtered through their growing understanding of the alien language, painted a terrifying picture. Image concepts flowed through the transmission showing prosperous civilizations, peaceful societies, and then darkness, systematic destruction. Entire species vanishing from the galactic map. This can't be right, James muttered, double-checking his interpretations. They're describing a pattern of extinction events across multiple sectors of the galaxy. Civilizations that should still exist according to council records. Elena's tablet chimed again with another analysis. This time the AI had managed to correlate some of the alien historical data with gaps in the Galactic Council's own records. Spaces where star systems were listed as uninhabited, despite showing signs of previous technological development. "Captain," Elena said, her voice barely steady, "I think we need to consider the possibility that someone or something has been systematically eliminating advanced civilizations from this galaxy." Rodriguez stared at her in disbelief. "That's impossible. The Council has maintained galactic peace for over 10,000 years, has it?" Elena challenged. "Or has it just been documenting the aftermath of something else's work?" The alien transmission suddenly intensified, and new patterns emerged that seemed specifically focused on the human research vessel. Elena realized with growing alarm that the aliens were scanning them, analyzing their technology and biological signatures with incredible precision. "They're learning about us," Dr. Kim announced. "The scan patterns suggest they're mapping our entire ship, including crew biosignatures. Should we be concerned?" Rodriguez asked. Before Elena could answer, the alien transmission shifted dramatically. The melodic patterns were replaced by urgent staccato bursts that clearly conveyed alarm. The ship's crystalline structure began pulsing with red-tinged light. "Elena, look at the long-range sensors," James called out. "Something's coming." The display showed multiple contacts approaching their position at impossible speeds. The energy signatures were unlike anything in the galactic databases, but their intent seemed unmistakably hostile. "How many?" Rodriguez demanded. 12 vessels, possibly more. "They're using some kind of stealth technology that's interfering with our sensors," James reported. "But Captain, their approach vectors suggest they've been tracking us for some time." Elena felt pieces of a terrible puzzle clicking into place. The aliens weren't hiding from us. They were hiding from them. The alien ship's transmissions became increasingly frantic, and Elena realized they were being provided with detailed tactical information about the approaching vessels. Weapon configurations, defensive capabilities, attack patterns, everything they would need to understand what they were facing. "Elena," Dr. Kim said urgently, "they're sending us something else. It looks like coordinates?" The mathematical expressions flowing through the transmission clearly indicated spatial locations throughout the galaxy. As Elena plotted them on the star charts, a horrifying pattern emerged. Every coordinate corresponded to a system that had suffered natural disasters according to Council records. Solar flares, stellar collapses, cosmic radiation bursts, all perfectly explainable by conventional astrophysics, all perfectly concealing the systematic extermination of advanced civilizations. "Captain," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I think the Galactic Council isn't what we thought it was." Before Rodriguez could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The approaching vessels had shed their stealth concealment, revealing sleek, predatory forms that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "All hands to battle stations," Rodriguez ordered, but Elena knew their research vessel was no match for whatever was coming. The alien ship's transmissions reached a crescendo of urgency, and suddenly Elena understood what they were really being told. The approaching vessels weren't just hunters, they were cleaners. Their job was to eliminate any species that showed too much promise, too much potential to become a threat to the established order. And humanity's first major contribution to galactic exploration had marked them for extinction. "Captain," Elena said, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her veins, "I think our new friends are about to save our lives. But first they need us to understand exactly what we're really fighting. The crystalline ship suddenly blazed with brilliant light as its true defensive systems came online, revealing technology so advanced that it made their own achievements look like stone tools. Elena realized that humanity's survival would depend on learning everything they could from a species that had been hiding in the darkness, protecting what remained of galactic civilization from those who claimed to be its guardians. The attacking vessels struck with devastating precision, their dark forms cutting through space like living shadows. Elena watched in horrified fascination as weapons beyond human comprehension tore into the space around them, only to be deflected by the crystalline ship's impossible defenses. Elena, we're receiving massive data transfers from the alien vessel, Dr. Kim announced, her hands flying over her controls. They're uploading something directly into our computers. Is it safe? Captain Rodriguez demanded, his attention divided between the tactical display and Elena's analysis. I don't think we have a choice, Elena replied, watching as their systems accepted terabytes of information. They're trying to give us everything they know before. She didn't finish the sentence, but they all understood. The alien ship was outnumbered 12-1, and despite their advanced technology, they were taking damage. Sections of their crystalline hull flickered and darkened as enemy fire found its mark. The data transfer completed just as a new voice cut through the chaos. Not alien this time, but disturbingly familiar. Ambassador Kethvar's communication came through on official council frequencies. Human vessel, you will cease all interaction with the unregistered entity immediately. Withdraw to a safe distance while council forces deal with this threat. Elena's blood turned to ice. Captain, those aren't unknown attackers. They're council ships. Rodriguez stared at her in disbelief. That's impossible. Why would the council attack a peaceful vessel? Elena's tablet displayed the translated data from the alien ship, and what she read there made everything clear with terrible finality. Because the council isn't what we thought it was. They're not peacekeepers, they're farmers. The uploaded information painted a picture that challenged everything humanity believed about galactic civilization. The Galactic Council maintained peace not through diplomacy, but through careful cultivation and periodic harvesting. Species were allowed to develop to a certain point, then eliminated before they could become a threat to the established order. Look at this, Elena said, sharing the data with the bridge crew. Every species in the council was uplifted by them. None achieve spaceflight independently. They select primitive civilizations, give them just enough technology to be useful, then keep them dependent. Dr. Kim's analysis confirmed Elena's fears. The pattern is consistent across all council species. They're all missing crucial technological developments that would lead to true independence. It's like they've been deliberately stunted. But humanity achieved FTL on our own, Rodriguez protested. Exactly, Elena said grimly, which makes us an anomaly, a potential threat to their system. The battle outside intensified as more council vessels arrived. The alien ship's defenses were holding, but barely. Through the transparent sections of their hull, Elena could see figures moving within, tall, graceful beings that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Elena, they're sending us more data, Dr. Kim reported. It's a history of resistance. There are others like them, hiding throughout the galaxy. The new information revealed an underground network of species that had either escaped the Council's initial contact or had managed to break free from their control. They called themselves the Forgotten, civilizations that had chosen freedom over security, knowledge over comfort. The Forgotten have been watching humanity for decades, Elena read from the translated files. They've been debating whether to make contact, whether we could be trusted with the truth. What changed their minds? Rodriguez asked. Elena found the answer in another data packet. Our response to their music. Most species, when they encounter something they don't understand, respond with either fear or aggression. We responded with curiosity and art. That told them we might be different. The alien ship's transmission shifted again, becoming more personal, more urgent. Elena realized they were being addressed directly, not as representatives of humanity, but as individuals capable of choice. They're asking us to choose, she translated, her voice heavy with the weight of the decision. We can pretend this never happened, return to Earth, and accept Council protection. Or we can join them. Join them in what? Rodriguez demanded. In fighting for the freedom of every sentient species in the galaxy. The implications were staggering. Accepting would mean abandoning everything humanity had worked toward. Their place in galactic society, their dreams of peaceful cooperation, their entire understanding of the universe around them. "Captain," came a frantic voice from the comm station. "We're being hailed by Ambassador Kethavar again. He's demanding our immediate surrender." Rodriguez looked at Elena, then at his crew. Each face reflected the same mix of fear and determination. They had come to the stars seeking knowledge and found instead a choice that would determine the fate of their entire species. "Elena, if we do this, there's no going back," Rodriguez said quietly. "We'll be branded as traitors, criminals. Earth will never know the truth. Will it matter if Earth is harvested in 50 years? Elena replied. "Look at the projection data. Humanity's technological development curve puts us on the Council's elimination list within a generation." The alien ship suddenly blazed brighter, and Elena felt something extraordinary happen. The beings inside weren't just communicating with them anymore. They were sharing their thoughts, their memories, their pain. She experienced flashes of a beautiful world consumed by artificial star death. Felt the anguish of survivors who had watched their civilization burn because they had learned too much, grown too fast, become too dangerous to the established order. But she also felt their hope, their belief that someday, someone would be strong enough and clever enough to break the cycle. "They chose us," Elena whispered, understanding flooding through her. "Not humanity as a whole, but us. Right here, right now. They're asking if we're willing to become the seed of something new." The Council ships pressed their attack, and the alien vessel shuddered under the assault. Time was running out. "Captain," Elena said, meeting Rodriguez's eyes with steady determination, "I know what I have to do, but I won't ask anyone else to make this choice." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "You're not asking, Elena, you're leading. And we're following." He turned to the communications station. "Open a channel to the alien vessel. Full spectrum, all frequencies." Elena stepped forward knowing that her next words would change everything. "This is Dr. Elena Vasquez of the human research vessel Endeavor. We accept your offer. We choose freedom." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Knowledge flooded their computers, star charts showing hidden routes through unmapped space, technology specifications that would advance human development by centuries, and most importantly, the locations of other forgotten settlements. "Elena," Dr. Kim called out in amazement. "They're not just sharing information, they're sharing their entire technological base. Everything they've learned in 10,000 years of hiding." Elena realized what was happening. The aliens weren't just recruiting them, they were preparing to pass the torch. Their long isolation was ending, and they were trusting humanity to carry on their mission. But first, they all had to survive the next few minutes. As if reading her thoughts, the alien ship's captain sent one final clear message. "Follow us. It's time you met the others." The crystalline vessel began to move, its impossible engines bending space around them. Elena felt the Endeavor being caught in some kind of gravitational field as they were pulled along. Behind them, the Council ships pursued, but Elena was no longer afraid. They were no longer alone in the darkness. They were going home to a family they never knew they had. The journey through hyperspace felt different from anything Elena had experienced before. Instead of the familiar blue-white tunnel of human FTL technology, they traveled through what could only be described as crystalline corridors of light. The alien ship, she now knew they called themselves the Luminari, had enveloped the Endeavor in a protective field that allowed them to witness the impossible. "Elena, you need to see this," Dr. Kim called from her sensor station. "We're not just traveling faster than light, we're traveling through dimensions that shouldn't exist." Elena studied the readings with growing amazement. The luminary technology didn't simply bend space-time. It folded reality itself, creating shortcuts through the fundamental structure of the universe. What should have been a journey of months was compressed into hours. "The energy requirements alone should be impossible," James muttered, running calculations that kept producing results his mind refused to accept. "They're drawing power from quantum fluctuations in the vacuum itself." Captain Rodriguez stood beside Elena at the main viewport, watching streams of impossible colors flow past their vessel. "Elena, do you really think we made the right choice?" Before she could answer, new contacts appeared on their sensors. Ships of designs she had never seen before. Some biological in appearance, others crystalline like their guide. still others that seemed to be made of pure energy held in geometric patterns. "My God," Elena whispered. "How many species are out here?" The answer came through the communication system in the form of the luminary captain's thoughts, now somehow comprehensible to them all. 47 surviving species, some with populations in the millions, others reduced to a few hundred individuals, all united by the choice you just made. As they emerged from hyperspace, Elena gasped at what lay before them. A massive space station unlike anything in galactic records floated in the void, its architecture a fusion of dozens of different technological approaches. Ships from various species docked at its sprawling arms while others patrolled the surrounding space. "Welcome to Haven," the luminary captain continued. "The last free port in this galaxy." "It's incredible," Rodriguez breathed. "How long has this been here?" "We began construction 8,000 years ago, after the Council's first major purge. Every species that joins us contributes their knowledge and resources to our common defense." The Endeavor was guided to a docking bay that seemed to reshape itself to accommodate their vessel's specific requirements. As the airlock sealed, Elena felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. They were about to meet beings that official galactic society claimed didn't exist. The airlock opened to reveal a delegation that defied imagination. The luminary captain was indeed tall and graceful, their crystalline skin refracting light in patterns that seemed to convey emotion. Beside them stood a being that appeared to be made of living metal, its form constantly shifting and reforming. Another delegate resembled a walking tree, its bark-like skin glowing with bioluminescent patterns. "I am Resonance of Stars." The luminary captain introduced themselves, their voice somehow heard directly in Elena's mind. "I speak for the luminary survivors. These are my colleagues, Constructor Prime of the Nexus Collective, and Root Singer of the Verdant Fleet." Elena stepped forward, feeling the weight of representing not just her crew, but potentially all of humanity. "I'm Dr. Elena Vasquez. Thank you for trusting us with the truth." Constructor Prime's metallic form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Trust is earned through actions, not words. Your response to our music, your choice to reject, counsel safety for uncertain freedom. These spoke more clearly than any diplomatic protocol." Root Singer's bioluminescent patterns pulsed in complex rhythms. "Come, there is much you must learn, and time grows short. The Council will not allow your defection to go unanswered." They were led through corridors that showcased the combined achievements of dozens of civilizations. Elena saw technologies that could revolutionize human understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness itself. Art forms that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Gardens where plants from different worlds had somehow been made compatible, creating ecosystems of impossible beauty. "This is what the galaxy could be," Elena murmured, "if we were free to share knowledge instead of hiding it." "That is why we fight," Resonance of Stars replied. "The Council claims their system brings peace, but it is the peace of the grave. They fear what free minds might achieve." They entered a vast amphitheater where representatives from all 47 species had gathered. Elena was struck by the incredible diversity. Beings of crystal and metal, energy and flesh, some so alien that her mind struggled to process their forms, others surprisingly familiar. "Each species here made the same choice you faced," Root Singer explained. "Each paid the price of freedom with exile and eternal vigilance." A being that resembled a living constellation of stars floated forward. "We are the star-touched. Our people achieved transcendence of physical form before the Council could harvest us. We share our gift of consciousness expansion." Another delegate, appearing as a humanoid figure wreathed in controlled flame, spoke with a voice like crackling energy. "The Forge-born offer mastery over matter itself. We can reshape reality at the molecular level." Elena realized she was witnessing something unprecedented, a true alliance of equals, each contributing their unique capabilities to the common good. No hierarchy, no dominant species, just cooperative diversity. "Now you understand why the Council fears us," Resonance of Stars said. "United, we represent capabilities beyond their power to control or understand." "But why reveal yourselves now?" Rodriguez asked. "You've stayed hidden for millennia." Constructor Prime's form shifted to a more serious configuration. "Because the Council's final harvest approaches. They have identified 17 species marked for elimination within the next century. Your humanity is among them." Elena's blood chilled. 17 species? But that would devastate galactic civilization. That is their intention, Rootsinger replied grimly. The Council grows old, their original members nearing the end of their extended lifespans. They seek to consolidate power before choosing successors from the most compliant remaining species. The implications were staggering. The Council wasn't just maintaining their system. They were preparing to transform it into something even more controlled, more sterile. The Luminari have watched your species for 60 of your years, Resonance of Stars continued. Your rapid technological development, your tendency toward cooperation despite differences, your capacity for both logic and intuition. These qualities mark you as either a grave threat or a powerful ally. Elena understood now why the Forgotten had chosen to reveal themselves. Humanity's unique characteristics might be exactly what their resistance needed. What do you want from us? She asked directly. What we offer all who join us. Freedom to grow, to explore, to become everything your species is capable of achieving. In return, we ask that you help us prepare for the final confrontation. Dr. Kim stepped forward. Confrontation? The Council has grown complacent in their power, the star-touched representative explained. They believe the Forgotten are merely scattered survivors incapable of unified action. It is time they learned otherwise. Elena felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. Humanity had always dreamed of reaching the stars, of finding their place among the cosmic community. They had never imagined that place would require them to fight for the freedom of the galaxy itself. How long do we have? Rodriguez asked. The harvest of your species is scheduled to begin within 5 of your years, Constructor Prime replied. But other species face elimination sooner. The Kael'thera have perhaps months before their star is artificially destabilized. Elena looked around at the assembled representatives, these survivors of an impossible dream. Each had chosen freedom over security, knowledge over comfort, struggle over surrender. Captain, she said quietly, I think we need to send a message to Earth. Rodriguez nodded grimly. What do we tell them? Elena considered the question carefully. How do you tell an entire species that their greatest achievement, joining galactic civilization, was actually a trap? How do you prepare them for a war they never knew was coming? We tell them the truth, she said finally. All of it. And we give them the same choice we had. The truth has a way of spreading, Resonance of Stars observed. Once released, it cannot be contained. Elena smiled, feeling a fierce hope rising in her chest. Then let's make sure it spreads to every corner of the galaxy. The communication array at Haven was unlike anything Elena had ever seen. Instead of traditional radio transmissions, the Forgotten had developed a quantum entanglement network that could send messages instantaneously across galactic distances. More importantly, it was completely undetectable by Council monitoring systems. Are you certain about this approach? Resonance of Stars asked as Elena prepared her message to Earth. Once your species knows the truth, there can be no return to ignorance, Elena nodded, her fingers hovering over the alien interface that had somehow adapted itself to human neural patterns. Humanity has always chosen knowledge over comfort. It's what got us to the stars in the first place. She had spent 3 days crafting the message with input from the Forgotten's various species. It needed to convey the enormity of the situation without causing panic, provide hope while acknowledging the danger, and most crucially, give humanity the information they needed to make an informed choice. Dr. Kim, are you ready with the technical data packages? Elena asked. Sarah nodded from her position at a secondary console. Everything's prepared. Defensive technologies, manufacturing specifications, star charts showing safe routes to Forgotten settlements. If Earth chooses to join us, they'll have everything they need to protect themselves. Captain Rodriguez stood behind them, his face grave. Elena, once we send this, there's no going back. The Council will know we've compromised their security. The Council already knows we've chosen sides, Elena replied. The only question now is whether we give Earth a fighting chance. She activated the transmission, sending her message across the void to a small blue world that had no idea its fate hung in the balance. Message begins. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, transmitting from the research vessel Endeavor. What I'm about to tell you will challenge everything we believed about our place in the galaxy. But I need you to listen carefully because the survival of our species depends on understanding the truth. The Galactic Council is not what they claim to be. They are not peacekeepers or guardians of civilization. They are farmers and we are their crop. Elena paused, knowing that statement would send shockwaves through Earth's scientific and political communities. For over 10,000 years, the Council has maintained their version of peace through systematic elimination of any species that shows too much independence or technological advancement. They select primitive civilizations, uplift them to a certain level, then harvest them before they can become a threat. Humanity was never supposed to achieve faster-than-light travel on our own. We were supposed to remain dependent on Council technology, grateful for their guidance limited by their restrictions. Our independence marks us for elimination. Elena included the data packages Sarah had prepared, containing proof of the Council's activities drawn from forgotten archives. But we are not alone. Throughout the galaxy, 47 species have escaped the Council's control and formed a resistance network called the Forgotten. They have been watching us, debating whether to reveal themselves, waiting to see if we could be trusted with the truth. 3 days ago, we made contact with them. We learned about the true nature of galactic civilization and faced a choice: accept Council protection and eventual harvest, or join the fight for freedom. We chose freedom. The message continued with detailed explanations of the evidence, testimonies from forgotten species, and technical data that would allow Earth to verify the claims independently. I know this is overwhelming. I know it changes everything we hoped for when we first reached the stars. But it also offers us something we never expected: the chance to help liberate an entire galaxy. The choice is yours to make. If Earth chooses to maintain its Council membership, we will not contact you again. Your people will live in comfort and security for the next few decades before the harvest begins. But if Earth chooses to join the Forgotten, if humanity decides to stand for freedom and growth and the unlimited potential of conscious beings everywhere, then we have allies waiting to welcome us. Elena concluded with coordinates for Haven and instructions for establishing secure communication. Whatever you decide quickly. The Council's patience with independence is measured in months, not years. And remember, this is not just about us anymore. This is about what kind of galaxy we want to leave for the species that come after us. Dr. Elena Vasquez signing off. As the transmission ended, Elena felt both relief and terror. Earth would know the truth within hours. The response would determine not just humanity's fate, but potentially the success or failure of the Forgotten's entire resistance movement. How long until we know their decision? Rodriguez asked. Constructor Prime's metallic form shifted thoughtfully. Your species' political structures are complex. Consensus will take time, but the Council will detect increased communication activity and military preparations regardless of the final decision, which means they'll accelerate their timeline. Elena realized. Indeed. We estimate Earth has perhaps 6 of your months before the Council acts. Regardless of their choice, Root Singer's bioluminescent patterns pulsed urgently. There is something else you must know. The Council has been monitoring this facility. Our security is compromised. Elena's heart sank. How long do we have? Hours, perhaps less. A Council fleet is already en route. Resonance of stars radiated what Elena had learned to recognize as grim determination. It is time to implement the Exodus Protocol. Around the amphitheater, representatives from all 47 species began moving with practiced urgency. Elena realized they had planned for this moment, the eventual discovery of Haven and the need to scatter once again. What's the Exodus Protocol? Rodriguez demanded. We abandon Haven and disperse to hidden settlements throughout the galaxy, the star-touched representative explained. Each species takes custody of a portion of our accumulated knowledge and technology. The network survives even if individual nodes are discovered. Elena watched as the greatest achievement of the Forgotten, this magnificent symbol of cooperative freedom, prepared to destroy itself rather than fall into Council. Hands. There has to be another way, she protested. All this knowledge, this art, this proof that different species can work together, will survive in the hearts and minds of those who witnessed it, Resonance of Stars assured her. Haven was never meant to be permanent. It was a chrysalis preparing us for what comes next. Dr. Kim looked up from her console. Elena, I'm detecting massive quantum signatures approaching. Council dreadnoughts, at least 50 ships. How did they find us so quickly? Rodriguez asked. Constructor Prime's form darkened with anger. They have been preparing for this possibility. Our security was compromised from within. Elena felt sick. A spy among the forgotten? Not a spy. A true believer who thinks surrender might save some remnant of their species. The implications were devastating. The Council hadn't just found Haven. They had been led here by someone willing to sacrifice the entire resistance network for the slim hope of saving their own people. Alarms began sounding throughout the station as the first Council ships dropped out of hyperspace. Elena watched on the tactical displays as sleek predatory vessels surrounded Haven, their weapons already charging. "All ships, this is Council Fleet Command," came Ambassador Kethvar's voice. "You are in violation of Galactic Sea. Security Statute 1247, surrender immediately and submit to Council authority." Resonance of Stars touched Elena's shoulder with one crystalline hand. "Come. Your education in the true nature of this conflict is about to begin." As they ran toward the docking bay where the Endeavor waited, Elena realized that everything they had experienced so far was just the beginning. The real war was about to start, and humanity had chosen sides just in time to witness the first major battle. Behind them, the greatest library in the galaxy began systematically destroying itself, ensuring that the knowledge of 47 civilizations would survive even if Haven did not. Elena hoped Earth would choose wisely. Because ready or not, humanity was about to discover what it really meant to fight for freedom among the stars. The evacuation of Haven proceeded with clockwork precision, born from millennia of preparation. Elena watched in amazement as the great station systematically disassembled itself, its modular components separating and folding into compact transport packages that various ships could carry to safety. "It's incredible," Dr. Kim breathed as they ran toward their docking bay. "They're preserving everything that matters while denying the Council anything useful." Resonance of Stars guided them through corridors that were reshaping themselves to facilitate the evacuation. Haven was designed to be temporary from the beginning. We learned long ago that permanence makes targets. Elena felt a pang of loss watching the dissolution of this magnificent achievement. All that cooperative technology, those art forms that required multiple species to create, will be recreated wherever free minds gather, Rootsinger assured her as they reached the Endeavor. The true value of Haven was never the structure, but the proof that unity is possible. Captain Rodriguez was already at the ship's controls when they arrived. "Elena, we've got a problem. The Council ships aren't just surrounding us, they're jamming all hyperspace routes. We're trapped." Constructor Prime's metallic form shifted into what Elena had learned was their equivalent of a smile. "Perhaps, but the Council has never faced a coordinated, forgotten response before." Through the viewport, Elena watched as ships of impossible variety began emerging from hidden positions throughout the system. Vessels that had appeared to be asteroids revealed themselves as camouflaged dreadnoughts. Ships phased into existence from dimensions she hadn't known could be accessed. The Forgotten Fleet was far larger than anyone had suspected. For 8,000 years we have prepared for this moment. The star-touched representative communicated as their energy-form ship took position alongside the Endeavor. "The Council believes we are scattered survivors. Today they learn otherwise." The first exchange of fire lit up space with energies that violated every principle of physics Elena thought she understood. Council dreadnoughts, massive and imposing, launched weapons that could shatter moons. The Forgotten ships responded with technologies that seemed to bend reality itself. "Elena," Rodriguez called urgently, "we're receiving tactical data from the Luminari ship. They want us to coordinate our sensors with theirs." Elena quickly established the link, and suddenly the Endeavor's displays showed the battle from perspectives that shouldn't have been possible. She could see Council ships from the inside, their weaknesses highlighted by analysis systems beyond human comprehension. "Your species has a talent for pattern recognition that surpasses most others," Resonance of Stars explained. "Combined with our sensor technology, you can identify tactical opportunities we might miss." Elena studied the tactical display, her mind racing to process the complex three-dimensional battle unfolding around them. The Council fleet was powerful, but they were fighting defensively, trying to contain the Forgotten ships while accomplishing their primary mission. "Captain, look at this," Elena pointed to the display. "The Council isn't trying to destroy us. They're trying to capture as many Forgotten ships as possible." Rodriguez studied the patterns. "You're right. They're using suppression weapons, not planet killers. They want our technology, Constructor Prime realized. They believe they can extract our secrets through interrogation. Elena felt a chill of understanding. That's why they found us so easily. Someone didn't just betray our location. They told the Council exactly what they'd find here. The battle raged around them as forgotten ships fought desperately to escape the Council's containment field. Elena watched ships she had come to think of as friends taking damage, their crews making impossible sacrifices to protect the evacuation. A new voice cut through the communication channels, not Kethvar this time, but someone with the absolute authority of the Council's inner circle. Forgotten vessels, this is Prime Coordinator Veltar. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and your crews will be treated according to Galactic law. Continue to resist and you will be destroyed. Elena had heard that name in the historical files. Veltar was one of the original Council founders, ancient beyond measure and utterly ruthless in pursuing the Council's vision of galactic order. He offers lies wrapped in protocol, Resonance of Stars said bitterly. Galactic law does not recognize the rights of extinct species. Elena studied the tactical situation with growing desperation. The forgotten ships were powerful, but the Council fleet had them outnumbered 3-1. Worse, the Council was using some kind of dimensional anchor that prevented hyperspace escape. Wait, Elena said suddenly, a crazy idea forming. What if we don't try to escape? Rodriguez looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Elena, this isn't the time for— No, listen, Elena interrupted, her excitement building. They want to capture us, right? They're using suppression weapons and containment fields because they need us alive. Constructor Prime's form brightened with understanding. You propose we use their restraint against them? Elena nodded rapidly. Every species in the Forgotten Network has unique capabilities. What if instead of trying to break out, we coordinate those capabilities into something they can't contain? She began outlining her plan, drawing on the tactical data and her growing understanding of forgotten technologies. The star-touched could phase matter between dimensions. The Nexus Collective could reshape metal at the molecular level. The Luminary could manipulate energy fields. The Verdant Fleet could accelerate biological processes exponentially. It is insane, Rootsinger observed. It might work. The plan required precise timing and absolute trust between species that had hidden from each other for millennia. Elena watched as the forgotten commanders debated her proposal across 47 different communication channels. The human perspective is, unique Resonance of Stars finally said. We have been thinking like survivors. You think like explorers, is that good or bad? Rodriguez asked nervously. It is hope, came the reply from all 47 species simultaneously. Elena felt tears in her eyes as the Forgotten Fleet began to implement her plan. Ships that had been fighting defensively suddenly shifted to aggressive coordinated action. The Star-Touched began phasing Council ships partially out of normal space, making their weapons ineffective. The Nexus Collective ships fired projectiles that transformed into complex machinery inside enemy hulls. The Luminary focused their energy manipulation on the Council's dimensional anchors. Elena, look at this, Dr. Kim called excitedly. The Council ships are losing formation. Their jamming field is destabilizing. Elena watched as her impossible plan unfolded. Instead of trying to overpower the Council fleet, the Forgotten were using their diversity to create effects no single technology could achieve. Each species contributed their unique capability to a symphony of coordinated action that the Council couldn't counter because they had never imagined it possible. Prime Coordinator, their formation is collapsing, came a panicked transmission from one of the Council ships. We cannot maintain containment. Veltar's response was cold fury. Impossible. No collection of refugees could coordinate such complex tactics. Elena smiled grimly. That's your problem, Veltar. You see refugees. We see allies. The dimensional anchor field collapsed in a cascade of energy that lit up the system like a newborn star. Forgotten ships that had been trapped suddenly found their hyperspace routes open again. All ships execute Exodus Protocol, Resonance of Stars commanded. Remember, we are no longer hiding. We are preparing. Elena felt the Endeavor being drawn into the Luminary ship's protective field as they prepared to jump to hyperspace. Around them, the Forgotten Fleet scattered to prearranged coordinates throughout the galaxy. Elena, Rodriguez said quietly, we just helped change the course of galactic history. Elena nodded, watching the last of the forgotten ships disappear into hyperspace, while the Council fleet regrouped in angry confusion. The question is whether Earth will be ready for what comes next. Your species has already proven they can adapt to impossible circumstances, Resonance of Stars assured her. Now they must choose whether to grow into them. As they jumped to hyperspace, Elena caught one last glimpse of Haven's empty coordinates. The great station was gone, but the alliance it had fostered was stronger than ever. Behind them, Prime Coordinator Veltar was discovering that the galaxy was far more dangerous than the Council had ever imagined. And somewhere ahead of them, Earth was receiving a message that would determine the fate of human civilization. Elena hoped her species would choose freedom, because the war for the galaxy's future had officially begun. 3 months after the Battle of Haven, Elena stood on the observation deck of New Dawn, humanity's first hidden settlement. Built in the shadow of a rogue planet drifting between stars, the station represented everything Earth had chosen when they received her message. Dr. Vasquez, incoming transmission from the Sol system, announced Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, who had transferred from Earth's military to help coordinate humanity's integration into the Forgotten Network. Elena felt her heart racing. The quantum communication array showed an encrypted burst transmission, using codes that only Earth's highest government officials possessed. "Put it through to the main chamber," Elena said, knowing that representatives from a dozen forgotten species would want to hear Earth's latest report. The holographic display activated, showing President Martinez herself, along with Admiral Singh and Dr. Rebecca Torres, Elena's former colleague at the Xenolinguistics Institute. "Elena," President Martinez began, her face haggard with the weight of impossible decisions. "It's been 3 months since we announced our withdrawal from the Galactic Council. I thought you should know what's been happening." Elena's chest tightened. Earth's decision to join the Forgotten had come at tremendous cost. Severing ties with the Council meant abandoning established trade routes, diplomatic relationships, and the comfortable illusion of safety they had enjoyed for barely a decade. The immediate response was challenging, Dr. Torres continued. "Half the population thought we'd lost our minds. The other half wanted to know why we'd waited so long to break free." Admiral Singh stepped forward. The Council imposed an immediate quarantine on the Sol system. No ships in or out, all communication channels monitored, but they made a mistake. They assumed we'd collapse without their support. Elena smiled, feeling pride in her species' resilience. "What happened?" "We adapted," President Martinez said simply. "The technologies you transmitted allowed us to become self-sufficient faster than anyone thought possible. Our industrial capacity increased by 300% in 2 months. Food production actually improved without Council restrictions on genetic modification." Resonance of Stars materialized beside Elena, their crystalline form reflecting the holographic display. "Your species' adaptability continues to surprise us. Most civilizations require decades to integrate forgotten technologies." "There's more," Admiral Singh continued. "The quarantine isn't just military. The Council has been broadcasting propaganda to our population, claiming that Earth's government has been infiltrated by terrorists and that they're preparing to restore order for our own protection." Elena felt sick. "How many people believe it?" "Fewer than the Council hoped," Dr. Torres replied. "Turns out humans don't like being told what to think by aliens who won't explain their reasoning." "The independence movement has actually grown stronger." President Martinez nodded grimly. "Which brings us to why we're contacting you now. Our intelligence services have detected massive Council fleet movements toward the Sol system. We estimate they'll arrive within 6 weeks." Elena's blood chilled. "How many ships?" "Over 200 vessels," Admiral Singh reported. "Far more than necessary for a simple blockade." "Elena, they're coming to implement containment protocols." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. Containment protocols meant the artificial destruction of Earth's sun, making humanity's extinction look like a natural disaster. 8 billion people would die, and galactic records would note the tragic loss of a promising species to stellar instability. "This is sooner than our projections indicated," Resonance of Stars said, their mental voice tight with concern. "Earth's rapid adaptation has alarmed the Council." Elena forced herself to focus. "What's Earth's defensive capability?" President Martinez exchanged glances with her advisors. "Based on the technologies you provided, We've constructed a fleet of 43 vessels using principles we barely understand. Our scientists say they should be effective against Council technology, but we've never tested them in actual combat. 43 ships against 200. Constructor Prime observed as they joined the conversation. The odds are not favorable. Unless we change the rules of engagement, Elena said, her mind racing. President Martinez, how many people know about the true nature of the Council? Approximately 60% of the adult population, Dr. Torres replied. The data you provided was convincing. Elena felt an idea forming, dangerous, unprecedented, but possibly their only hope. What if we told everyone? The entire galaxy? Resonance of stars flickered with surprise. What do you mean? The Council's power depends on secrecy, Elena explained. They control information, manage what each species knows about the others. But what if we broke that control? What if we transmitted the truth to every inhabited system simultaneously? Admiral Singh leaned forward. Elena, the technical requirements for a galactic broadcast would be enormous, and the Council would try to jam or destroy any transmission source. Not if the transmission came from everywhere at once, Elena said, her excitement building. The Forgotten Network spans the entire galaxy. If every hidden settlement, every refugee fleet, every resistance cell transmitted simultaneously, a coordinated revelation, Root Singer mused, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing thoughtfully. The Council could not silence 47 sources across 47 different sectors. President Martinez looked skeptical. Elena, even if we could coordinate such a broadcast, what makes you think other species would believe us? The Council has maintained their narrative for 10,000 years. Elena smiled, remembering her first encounter with luminary music. Because we won't just transmit data. We'll transmit proof. Art, music, mathematics. The expressions of civilizations that supposedly died natural deaths. When species hear the songs of their allegedly extinct neighbors, the Council's lies will become impossible to maintain. It would work, the star-touched representative agreed as they phased into the chamber. Each species has cultural markers that cannot be forged. Hearing them would prove the survival of supposedly extinct civilizations. Dr. Torres looked amazed. Elena, are you suggesting we reveal the existence of the entire Forgotten Network to the galaxy? I'm suggesting we give every species the same choice we had, Elena replied. Freedom or servitude, truth or comfortable lies. The implications were staggering. If successful, the broadcast would shatter the Council's control over galactic civilization. Dozens of species would learn that they had alternatives to Council membership. The careful balance of power that had maintained order for millennia would collapse. It's incredibly dangerous, President Martinez said slowly. We'd be triggering a galactic revolution. Yes, Resonance of Stars agreed. But consider the alternative. The Council's harvest will continue until only the most compliant species remain. Eventually, even they will be eliminated when their usefulness ends. Elena looked around at the assembled representatives of the Forgotten, survivors of species that had once faced the same choice Earth now confronted. Each had chosen freedom over security, knowledge over ignorance, hope over despair. How long would we need to prepare the broadcast? She asked. Constructor Prime's form shifted as they performed rapid calculations. With Earth's resources and our network's infrastructure, perhaps 4 of your weeks. 2 weeks before the Council fleet arrives, Admiral Singh observed. It'll be close. Elena felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders once again. The decision they were contemplating would affect not just humanity or the Forgotten, but every conscious being in the galaxy. There's something else to consider. President Martinez added, if we do this, there's no going back. Win or lose, humanity will be marked as the species that broke the Council's control. We'll either be heroes or the galaxy's most wanted criminals. Elena thought about the music that had first brought the Luminari out of hiding. About the courage it had taken for species after species to choose uncertain freedom over guaranteed subjugation. Mr. President, she said finally, humans have never been very good at accepting limitations. We've spent our entire history pushing boundaries, exploring the impossible, refusing to accept that things have to stay the way they are. She paused, looking at the faces, biological and otherwise, surrounding her. I think it's time we shared that perspective with the rest of the galaxy, President Martinez smiled. For the first time since the transmission began, Dr. Vasquez, you have Earth's full authorization to proceed. Let's teach the galaxy what it means to be free. As the transmission ended, Elena felt a mixture of terror and exhilaration. In 4 weeks, they would either liberate the galaxy or trigger its destruction. But for the first time since leaving Earth, she was certain they were making the right choice. Your species continues to amaze us, Resonance of Stars observed. You have been among the stars for less than 50 years. Yet you think in terms of galactic transformation, Elena smiled, watching through the viewport as ships from dozens of species began converging on New Dawn. The final battle for galactic freedom was about to begin, and humanity had chosen to lead the charge. We've always been explorers, she said simply. It's time to explore what freedom really means.